hop over to Google Images. We need an iPod, and then we're going to have to draw in the earbuds and the cord that goes with it.
Ooh, that was sick.
The ad campaign was actually for some of the earlier iPod designs. And they didn't tend to show the iPod in color. It was usually just kind of in white or monochrome kind of color. So it might actually be better if I plug in white.
iPod Nano.
Yeah, but they did do the some of the later models and stuff like that.
That's silver.
Now, what you might be able to find on here that can be helpful too is a unit that's on a little bit of an angle. Okay, that might help you in terms of what you're doing. And do have a look for medium or large size files too, maybe even large, so that you can get a good high quality graphic. Let's say in this case I'm going to do one of these little white nano. I picked this one because it's on a clean background, okay, and it's high resolution. I'm going to go look at the full size one, and if I want to use that file, I can just drag and drop it right into Photoshop. Okay, and I'm going to hide the other windows. I'm going to pull these two apart, just pull the tab apart so that I can see the iPod on its own. Now, I don't think I want to see anything on the screen though, on mine. So I'm going to pick up, this is the rectangular marquee tool, this dotted rectangle in the corner. And I'm just going to use that to drag and highlight the entire screen on the inside of here. And then I think I'll just put a gradient fill. Gradient means kind of from, moving from one color to another. Here's the gradient button. And I can have a fill that moves from one color to another. Gray to white might not be too good. Or should we change it? We can actually have it move maybe more from gray to white almost. So we're actually going to add on another color chip here onto the gradient. And those don't have to be perfect. When you use the gradient tool, your actual cursor turns into almost like a directional hand to where you get to draw the direction of the gradient and how far it goes. So if I click and drag here, the gradient will move from gray to white. Okay, that might do. If I want to get rid of the selection I have there, I can just say select, deselect. Okay, so that adds just kind of more of an anonymous look to it. You may want to tweak that even more. I can fairly easily select the background on this picture because it's got a nice clean edge to it. So if I just pick up the wand tool, this is the selection tool I've been using quite a bit, it'll find continuous areas. And if I click, ooh, didn't work so well. Tolerance level is too high here. So we need to just dial the tolerance back, maybe to more like 10. There we go. I want the inverse of this though. I want it to select everything but the background. So invert. There we go. And now I can drag and drop with the move tool. I can just drag and drop the iPod into place. Now that is huge. So we've already got the transformation controls, but I am going to hold the shift key down when I do this so that when it scales uniformly and make it life size. They never make them larger than they're supposed to be. Okay. So really if I zoom in a little bit here, it'll help. We move the whole unit up toward her hand is probably a good place to start so that we can get a sense of, yeah, that looks probably about right. But not where we want it. I'm going to guess we're probably going to have it down here somewhere. Maybe it looks like it's sticking out of a pocket here. So we could do this. We could give it a slight rotation while it's here too. Now, if we want to make it look like it's in a pocket, we better kind of tuck it in. Okay? So a couple of different ways we could do that, but you may just want to do it quickly with the eraser tool. Okay? If I erase part of it, it's just going to end up black there. But remember that you're not going to be able to get this back. Okay? But I can always drag in a new version of the iPod if I want. So if I just drag all the way across here, or I might want it on a slight angle. Slight angle looks good.
Oh,
right? You get the idea?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right. Okay. Now we need to, for the headphone cord and the earbud really isn't that difficult, and you could probably just get away with picking up the paintbrush tool and picking up the color white. These two little color chips right down here near the bottom of the toolbar will get you quickly to white or black, and you can reverse them if you need to. So I want white as the foreground color. You got to decide where the ear is going to be. It's probably somewhere around here. Now, I would recommend before you start drawing the cord, create a new layer on the layers palette here. So let's come over and create a new layer so that if I make a mistake here or I decide I want to try it again, I can go back. I don't know, the earbud might not need to be anything more than that. Okay. It's not going to be very big because most of it's hidden inside your ear. You might have a little tinge of gray on it. If you look closely at the design pictures for them, you may want to change it. Okay, the cord. The cord is probably the trickiest part of all of this because getting the cord to look, yeah, like the gravity is being applied to it. I'm actually going to make another new layer here just to start this new cord. You could start with the paintbrush tool, and this method actually works fairly well in most cases, so you can try it. If I take the paintbrush tool, very small brush, okay, probably about 5 pixels. Let me see how big that is. Even that's a little bit big, I think. That's only a 5 pixel brush, so we may want to shrink it down even more. Let's say 4. And this will depend on the scale of your body in the picture. But again, look at something else that you can compare scale to. You know, that headphone cord shouldn't look much bigger. You know, I should be able to wrap it around her hand fairly easily, and that works. What happens with the paintbrush tool sometimes is people end up doing this. Okay? So what's the problem with that? It's not realistic. It doesn't look like gravity applies to it. Okay? If this is your headphone cord, maybe it's been wound up tight, wrapped around your iPod Nano for a year sitting in your desk. Cords shouldn't look like that. Command Z, I can undo that. So you may have better luck actually doing something like this. If you hold the Shift key down, you can use the paintbrush tool almost like a paint by number or connect the dots. So if I do this, if I press, click once with the paintbrush, hold the Shift key and click again. Shift key, click again. I can make quick connect the dot sections like this. But that still doesn't look good either. But I could use that same approach to do something like this. Click once here. Click again where it needs to end up, right near the top of the iPod here. And consider where the headphone jack comes out. Usually it's off to the side. Okay. And now I'm going to apply a filter to this layer. So up under filter, I'm going to ask to liquefy. This is a really fun filter that turns your whole canvas almost into liquid paint. In this case here, I'm going to have to check layer 1. Let's try layer 1. So filter, liquefy. Let's try everything behind layer 1. There. So that was using the twirl tool. I'll zoom in again on the headphones. This was the twirl tool, clicking and holding. So sometimes actually a simple twirl tool might add just enough motion to it. There are bloating and pinching tools, but this is probably one that's going to be most valuable. Combination of this with the twirl. I could apply a bit of a twirl to this. And sometimes it helps to apply it in different areas. And then the forward warping tool lets you maybe a slightly smaller brush, I can just pick up part of the cord and move it. Okay. So if I exaggerate it too far, you'll notice that the perspective, the line gets pulled. But within reason here, I can reposition this to do just about any kind of position I think will work. And if I want to get more detailed about it, I can do that. Not quite in the right area here at the end, but I think I left that earplug or the earbud on its own. So I'm just taking the arrow keys on the keyboard here and I'm just nudging it up into position so it meets up there. Here it could have been a little bit, cord could have been a little bit lower, but we should probably put a bit of a jack on the end of here, the actual connector that goes in the iPod. So where is our layer with the iPod? Here it is. So I think I'll put this white paint on this layer here. Paintbrush. And again, that technique of holding down with the shift key will let you build up a little bit of a, what looks like kind of a bulge of plastic there. You don't need to build that up too much, but just enough to hint that there's a bit of a thickness there for the connector. Depending on the position of the body, I really should be spending the time probably on this one too to draw in the other side of the earbud, because we never have just one earbud plugged in. We've always got, it separates off as a Y, 2/3 of the way up. So you want to draw in that other side so that it matches. Okay. Some of you might have more complex drawings where the cord looks like it wraps in behind something. So you may have to use the eraser to cut part of it out or add a different part in to make it look like it comes in behind.